Hello, 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 everyone. This is Miguel Lebron. I'm so happy that you could be connected here today. I want to talk to you about what we're going to be doing in February 2023. Usually, when I produce a podcast, I don't date them, and that's because the idea would be that they would be evergreen, right? When I publish podcast episodes, it's with the idea that if you picked it up on that same day or even months later, that the date is irrelevant to when the conversation is taking place. However, for the sake of context, I do want to date what I am doing. So currently it is January 27th. It is a Friday, and we are going into the month of February. And I'm going to be doing the following. On the Wisdom application, I'm going to be going live every day in the month of February. So every day in the month of February, I will go live once a day for 30 minutes on the Wisdom application. That live conversation will then turn into a podcast episode for the Strategy Rewind podcast. So there are some individuals that right now may be listening on the Wisdom app. If you want to be part of the conversation, I would encourage to listen on the Wisdom app. And then, of course, click that button where you can become a guest on each conversation that we'll have that will then become part of the podcast Strategy Rewind. So some individuals may be right now listening on the Strategy Rewind podcast. If you want to join the conversation, again, download the Wisdom app where you can become part of the conversation that we're going to be having in the month of February. I'm so excited to be able to do this. Now, here's the thing. If you are listening right now on the Wisdom app and you're like, I don't even know what the Strategy Rewind podcast is, well, the Strategy Rewind podcast is a podcast that I produce, and it focuses on the mindset and strategy necessary for a breakthrough moment. I'm really proud of what we've been able to do and the catalog that we've been able to develop with the Strategy Rewind podcast. I want to encourage you that if you haven't listened to the podcast, if you haven't heard the podcast, it is available on all streaming audio platforms, or you can just go to miguellebron.com. When you go to my website, there not only will you find information on the podcast, but also coaching that I've done and blogs that I've written. I've written articles on leadership, mindset, strategy, breakthrough moments. So I'm really excited to announce what the goal is for February. Again, February, I'll start going live once a day for 30 minutes. And if you want to join the conversation, just click the button. In fact, before we jump off here, there's already a few people that are connected here on the Wisdom application. Thank you so much for being connected here. I would love to know what goal you have for the year 2023 as we're coming into the end of the month of January. I would love to know, what are your goals for 2023, or what's one major goal for this year? In my opinion, we should set one major goal, and then we should set small goals throughout the year. Because this way, as you accomplish those small goals, those micro goals, what happens is that it builds up the momentum so that you can accomplish that big thing that you want to do. And so what happens is that oftentimes, for example, we say, okay, I want to lose weight. And that's a big goal that's going to take 365 days. It's going to take 52 weeks. It's going to take the 12 months. And to think that you can do it in less than that, well, it would not be a practical goal. And I believe that practical goals lead to a radical life. And what is a practical goal? It's something that you can implement every day into your habit, because your habits will actually give you detail if you're living out your life, if you're actually doing the things that make you feel alive. If you try to do a radical goal, what will happen is that you may feel ignited as you start that goal. Throughout it, you'll actually fizzle out. For example, I know a person who wanted to lose weight. And this is, of course, a common goal that individuals have at the start of the new year. We all want to start fresh, start healthy, etc. So this particular person decided they wanted to live a healthier lifestyle. What happened was that they signed up to one of these extreme weight loss programs. And guess what? They lost the weight, an immense amount of weight. They looked drastically different. They were happy because they had lost the weight, but they were miserable because that program was such extreme measures. I mean, they changed the way they ate, it changed the way they diet. Like, there was so much. And so when we talk about the sustainability of those results, it's practical goals that lead to sustainability. It's practical goals that lead to the actual building of habits and building of the life that we want to live, which I'm sure is radically different than the one we have. So again, I think practical goals lead to a radical life. And if you're wondering on the conclusion on that particular person that I'm talking about, well, they stopped doing the extreme program. And when they stopped doing the extreme program, what do you think happened? All of that weight came back in extreme measure. And so instead of going back there, I simply encouraged them and said, hey, you have to check out your habits. What's something you can do daily to get you to where you want to be? And it was super exciting when the year 2022, they told me, did you know I lost 30 pounds? But here's the thing, I was able to keep them off. And that's the key. Are you able to start a goal? Are you able to start something and see it all the way through? I'm so excited to find out what your goals are. If you're listening on the Wisdom app, you want to jump in and just say, hey, I have one major goal. It's XYZ. I'd love to hear it. Definitely feel free to connect. My goal for the month of February is going to be to go live every day on the Wisdom app for 30 minutes. And that conversation will then turn into a podcast episode on the Strategy Rewind podcast. So, of course, if you're listening on the Strategy Rewind podcast and you want to join in on the conversation, download the Wisdom app. And if you're listening on the Wisdom app and you're saying, man, I want to be part of the conversation, I want to be featured on a podcast, well, then go ahead and hit that button, become a guest, and join in on the conversation. After all, the objective here is to have a conversation. And what conversation does is that it expands our horizon. It actually allows for a more well-rounded and healthier perspective. Understand that your point of view cannot be changed, but your perspective can. And the way that your perspective change is through conversation, is through challenging your mindset, is through challenging your thoughts. It's actually through doing the study, the research, through meditation, through actually examining your steps. And so it's important to note that, right? Your perspective can change, but your point of view is your point of view. Like, you only have one point of view, and that's yours because, well, you are you. And your point of view of how life is distinct from everyone else because your life has been distinct from everyone else. However, your perspective can change. You can view one situation and say, it's this way, and then as time progresses, your perspective changes. You probably get a little smarter, a little stronger, a little mature, and you say, I thought it was one way, but it actually turned out to be another. This is why oftentimes people will say, I thought that situation was going to destroy me, was going to end me, but it actually propelled me to become a better version of myself. I'm super excited. I want to see people win. If you're not familiar with the work I've done, my name is Miguel Lebron. I'm a personal growth strategist. And what that means is that I help individuals think strategically about the goal they want to accomplish so that they can have a breakthrough moment. And I've written blogs on this on my website, MiguelLebron.com. I host the podcast Strategy Rewind, and I'm so excited for this year. I'm so excited for what's happening, what's about to happen. And again, in February, I'll be going live on the Wisdom app. So you're going to have to download the Wisdom app if you're listening on the Strategy Rewind podcast and you don't have the Wisdom app. Download the free application. Make sure you hit the follow so you can stay connected, because on the Wisdom app, I'll go live in the month of February every day for 30 minutes. And you can join in on the conversation. Each day we'll talk about a different topic as it pertains to personal growth, to mindset, to strategy, to breakthrough moments. And I'll even throw in a little Q&A there so that we can have a proper conversation. Again, the objective here, my goal with doing this, is to be able to have conversation with people that are possibly going through their journey and maybe just need a different perspective, or they need a strategy. When I began to Google, and you can do this yourself, when I began to do a basic Google on what the word strategy meant, I realized that the definitions were showing me were either related to the war zone or the boardroom. And that really left me bothered, because I felt as though this had nothing to do with the everyday person, with the person that's a single mother trying to balance motherhood and her career, with the individual who's just been divorced and is trying to restore their life, with the person who just started a new relationship, with the person who just broke up with somebody and is trying to pick up the pieces, with the person who just moved into a new city or started a new job or a new career or has just been laid off and has to figure out what's next. I felt like this definition of strategy that had to do with the war zone and the boardroom had nothing to do with the everyday person. And so I embarked on this journey to try to develop my own definition of the word strategy. And my definition of the word strategy is a defined number of steps to help you obtain a breakthrough moment. It's a defined number of steps to help you obtain a breakthrough moment. And so what this means is that the defined number of steps require that you would first understand where you are. And this is powerful because so often we begin to compare each other with other people. And we say, well, I should be where they are. Well, you're not who they are, and you don't know how far away they are from their breakthrough moment. And so it's necessary for us to evaluate, where are we right now? And as you do this, you can ask yourself, am I where I want to be? And if the answer is no, it's a good thing. We often assume that no is a bad thing. No, no, no. If you evaluate and you say, I'm not where I want to be in life, good, because at least you know that you're not where you want to be. And you're that much closer to where you want to be. And then, of course, it's building out the image of, where do I want to be? And then understanding, who does it require for me to be in order for me to get there? So often in goal setting, we ask the question, what do I have to do to get there? But the appropriate question, I think, is, who do I have to become in order to be there, in order to get to the place I want to get, in order to accomplish the thing I wish to accomplish? And so often we get stuck in our own point of view, in our own perspective. And I'd like to invite you on a conversation in the month of February where we can actually challenge our perspective. We can all grow, we can all learn, and we can all ultimately have a breakthrough moment. So often, and statistically, you'll find this, that individuals in the start of the new year say, I want to accomplish X, Y, Z. And then as the year progresses, for some reason, they fizzle out. I happen to believe that it's because we establish radical goals, when indeed, as I mentioned, practical goals lead to a radical life, and not the other way around. If anything, radical goals and radical goal setting, like losing 1,000 pounds for the end of March, of course, I am exaggerating, but nevertheless, I think you understand that setting a goal like that would leave an individual feeling frustrated, irritated, and even questioning their own ability to actually manage their life. And so I want to invite you on this journey. For the next month of February, I'm going to be going live every day in the month of February, every day for 30 minutes a day. And I want to invite you that if you're listening on the Strategy Rewind podcast and you don't have the Wisdom app, download the Wisdom app. And if you have the Wisdom application and you're in the conversation, actually join the conversation, because I want to hear from you as well. What are your goals that you're establishing for 2023? What's something you're attempting to gain and actually become in 2023? Who is that person? What version of you do you have to become? And I'm going to start wrapping up here, but I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this. In the world of superheroes, right? Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and all of these other superheroes. In the world of all of these superheroes, DC, Marvel, etc., in the world of all these superheroes, there's this conversation of, is there an alternative universe? And even in our real life, day to day, there's this conversation of, is there an alternative universe? Is it possible that there's another version of me out there somewhere trying to do something, right? Trying to accomplish something? I want you to think about that mindset, because in that mindset of, if there is possibly a different world, if there's possibly a different alternative universe, and there is possibly a different version of you out there, then consider this. Ask yourself this: what would that version be doing in order to accomplish the goals I wish to accomplish? What would that version be doing? And as you think about this, as you think about what that version of you would be doing in that alternative universe, ask yourself, could I do that now? Could I actually do that now? And most likely what you'll find out is that you can. You can do it now. You can now put in the actions in this universe, in this iteration. You can do it now. You can take advantage now. I want to thank everyone who's been listening and connected here on the Wisdom application. If you just joined the room, I see a few of you have just joined the room. Here's the big thing. In the month of February, I'm going to be going live for every day in the month of February for 30 minutes. So every day, the month of February for 30 minutes, I'll go live on the Wisdom application. That will then become an episode on my podcast, Strategy Rewind. So if you ever wanted to be part of a podcast, here's the moment. Become a guest on this conversation, and then you'll be featured on the podcast Strategy Rewind. Of course, if you're listening on the Strategy Rewind podcast right now, I'd encourage you to download the Wisdom app, as again, I'll be going live every day for the month of February, every day for 30 minutes. I'm really excited. I'm going to throw in some topics in there that have to do with personal growth, strategy, breakthrough moment, perspective, kind of somewhat of what we've spoken about here, but actually dedicate sufficient amount of time into those topics. And I'm also inviting you to be part of the conversation so that we can all grow together. And so, again, join me in this goal of mine for the month of February. Join me as I seek to help you actually accomplish your breakthrough moment, encourage you as you navigate this year. I know it's only going to be the second month of the year, but statistically, people by February, March are already fizzled out with their goals. I don't want you to lose momentum. I want you to keep going and keep growing and keep actually becoming the person you want to become. Hey, if you have not heard of the Strategy Rewind podcast, be sure to visit my website, MiguelLebron.com. There you can check out the website, some coaching information, some articles I've written, or if you're on the Wisdom app, just click on the link in my profile, and that'll take you straight to the Strategy Rewind podcast. Of course, subscribe, rate, review, do all those amazing things, but most importantly, become part of the conversation, because conversation allows for the growth of community, the strengthening of community, but it also challenges our perspective. Thank you so much for being part of this episode here of Strategy Rewind and the announcement of what I'll be doing in the month of February. Super, super excited. Hope we can chat soon. And remember, surround yourself with people that will nourish your vision.